Hi, this is Lisa Sonora, and I'm thrilled to introduce you to my painting mentor, Robert Burridge, who's taking us inside his sketchbooks and process today. So Bob, I'm fascinated by your sketchbooks, and I just wanted to ask you a few questions about, yes. What do you use your sketchbooks for?
Oh, wow. Well, my sketchbooks, I don't walk around with an iPad and notebooks and things like that. So I use this as my memory bank. I call it my toolbox. Every time I have an idea of anything, I don't try to remember any of it. I write it all down here in my sketchbook. I also use my sketchbook to paste in photographs of paintings I've done before because I can't remember them all. Well, these are some paintings I may have done before that I happen to like, or some of my charcoal drawings. These are some of my charcoal drawings from my life drawing class. So I keep these in here to remind me of some of the things that I've done that I happen to particularly like. But I do an awful lot of writing in here. This particular sketchbook does not show a whole lot of writing, but I do a lot of journaling every day. I journal every day my goals for the day or my goals for the painting. And I also put in paintings in here of some of my friends that I happen to like. But I do a lot of day one. Here's one. I said day one. I want to do 3 pieces on 3 different values. So I give myself painting problems every day, kind of like the problem du jour. And this particular one was to do 3 pieces with 3 different values, black and white. Or here's another one, a quarter sheet. Glue 3 graphic shapes in them. 3 graphic shapes in them, and start from there. At least it's an idea. Okay, so I always start out with an idea. I don't just go in and start throwing paint around. But I try to write down what I call the 4 C's. What's the concept? What's the color combination? What's the composition? And the 4th C is I'm committed to the idea. And I just continue on painting. So those are my daily goals. Here are some more daily goals I wrote down here to do a painting based on each word. I give myself 2 minutes to do my interpretation of that word. It gets me into the creative side really fast. And so I either look up in the dictionary or the Roget Thesaurus or something like that. I just point to a word and I say, wow, okay, I need to do a painting in 2 minutes that communicates that idea. Here we have the word isolate, calm, migrate, claustrophobia, and so on and so forth. But this is the way that I get into the creative side real fast. Mm-hmm. And so as opposed to going down to the studio and start working on a finished painting, I actually do what I call my warm-ups, just like my stretching exercises. Just like before you do anything magnificent in sports, you've got to stretch your stretching. So these are my mental stretching exercises, and I have about 50 of these books in my studio. I only have this one right now with me, and this one happens to be abstracts and figures. Mm-hmm. So I do all my drawings and figures in it, and all my writing goes in here too. So you'll see, as I say, paintings that I've done before, or at least some drawings that I've done before to remind me about some of the things that I've done. But it's usually my toolbox, and I put all my ideas in here. I don't have scraps of paper all over the studio. Every time I have a new idea, I put it here in the studio. Here in the sketchbook. So it's my basics where I keep all my ideas, because the best part about having a sketchbook is to go back and review them a year later or 6 months later or a couple days later, mm-hmm. and I'll say, wow, that was a good idea then. I think I'll do that now. So I may not react or act on every idea I come up with, but I make sure I write it down if I think it's a good idea. And just take it from there. So this is really important. And also on your sketchbook, paint on the outside. Do a painting, put some notes on the outside. That way you know it's your sketchbook. Also, don't forget to put your name in there in case you lose it at the airport, right? And you will lose them. And make sure you have your return address. You just never know. You don't want to lose these because either you spend a lot of time in your sketchbook. So before I even do any painting, I do a lot of journaling. I write a whole lot about the painting I'm about to do, and I write it on the whole page. I don't throw the page away. I keep them in here. So every time I get lost somewhere in the painting, I go back and reread my notes or my goals or my journals. So I use my sketchbook for ideas. I also use it for just spewing, if that's a word translated, and just write everything so I get everything out of my head. you can't, as I like to say, you can't go into your studio with all these ideas bouncing around. So I bounce around all these ideas right in here. And so when I get lost, I just go back and open up my sketch. Oh, this is what I'm doing. It gets me right back on track real fast. So that's what I use my sketchbooks for. And I have lots of them, and I never throw them away.
Couple questions about that. Do you keep one at a time, or do you work in several at once?
I have about 4 or 5 or 6 sketchbooks all out at the same time. One's dedicated, this one happens to be dedicated to abstracts and figures. I have another one, maybe some ideas. One might be some simple things like fruits and vegetables or still lifes. Then I have another one of just pure writing, because I'm always writing an awful lot for my books. So I do one for writing, and that's about as organized as I'm going to get. But pretty much I'm all over the place.
One thing I was intrigued by is you said you use really good paper for your sketchbooks, and sometimes you sell the pages, so how does that work?
Yes, I use really good paper, really thick paper, because I do a lot of the sketching on the paper. And if it happens to be a good drawing, especially a charcoal drawing, and it ends up being something I think I can sell and put on a mat, send into the art stores or the galleries, at least I know I've done it on good paper. I don't use really cheap paper because you never know when you're going to have a good drawing, and it'll be more valuable if you do it on better paper. If you do it on cheap paper, the paper might disintegrate after several years from now, and I just have a little more respect for my work, that I do all my work on really good paper. It's expensive, but it makes your drawings even better.
Where do you find good?
Better art stores. I go to better art stores and I go online and I find really good sketchbooks.
So you use like 140-pound
Yeah,
cold
these are
press?
really thick. It's pretty thick paper. So it's
Okay.
not whimsy little vellum type paper. It's pretty thick. Oh, it's here. So it's almost
Fantastic.
like postcard type of paper.
Okay. Thanks so much, Bob. One last question. Any words of wisdom, which I know you'll have one or two,
For whom?
for people who just feel like even afraid to make a mark in their own sketchbook?
Oh, yeah. Well, if you can't have any fear when you go in to do your artwork. Fear is not part of the equation of the creativity. A lot of us think, oh, we have really good paper, good paint. We think everything we touch has to turn to gold. It's not. The whole idea of a sketchbook is for you to put down sketching ideas. It's not meant to be a great piece of artwork. I happen to use good paper just in case it ends up being a good piece of artwork. But I do all my writing, everything's down here on this paper, on the sketchbook, and I put all my ideas here so I don't have to be thinking about all these things when I do go into the studio. I'm focused on one thing, my painting that I'm about to do. And I do a lot of journaling in my sketchbook before I do the painting. Before, not afterwards. So I write down all my goals, my color combination, my intentions, what I want the painting to say, what I want people to feel about when they finish the painting, and when they finish looking at the painting, and so that's part of my goals. So that way I don't have to think about it in my head when I'm doing the actual creative process. So when I do get lost, I just go back and read my goals. Oh yeah, that's what I'm doing. It gets me right back on track.
Especially as you're working on hundreds of pieces at once?
I'm working on several paintings all at the same time in my studio, probably about 10, 15, 20 paintings all at the same time. And each one has a different goal, each one has a different page in my sketchbook. And so I like to stay fresh by going back and reworking some paintings or continue. I never finish a painting the day I start it. So I usually am ready to go on to another painting. So if I run out of steam or lose interest in the painting, I just go to another painting and start another one and read my notes about it first.
Thanks so much.
Thanks for having me. I can't wait to see you guys down there in Mexico so we can throw some paint around.
Get more sketchbooks, visual journals, and creative process goodness at lisasonora.com.